If you've been wanting to get into crawling and don't know where to go, well, check out Nankin Hobby because we got a plethora of crawlers. Stay tuned as I'm going to tell you all about crawling events and give a ton of advice. Hey guys, what's up? It is Dave here with a crawling video, and I am super excited today. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about how to get into different crawling events and competition. So, what is competition and what are crawling events? That's kind of just a vague term. But basically, there's two types of crawling events or competitions, if you want to say that. So there's going to be the trail type event, which is going to be like the Great Lakes Gauntlet we have here in Michigan, or Pro Line by the Fire, Axial Fest, Beat the Creek, The Fix, or USTE. There's a ton of these trailing type events. And some of them have competitive aspects to them. And in those, you'll typically run something like this. Well, this is just a TRX4 Bronco, but you'd run a trail vehicle. I mean, most of these crawlers are trail vehicles, but this one specifically, or others like it, like the Base Camp and the other TRX4s, and most stock trucks are ready for the trails. And those events are going to be more focused on long trails, sometimes miles long, sometimes not miles long, but still take hours to finish. Sometimes they're based on time, and fastest time basically wins something. Sometimes there will be other themes or other competition aspects, sometimes no competition aspects. So you really want to check with the event page or whatever event you're going to as far as what is going to be going on for sure there. But as far as trailing type events, most of them are pretty laid back. Actually, they're all really laid back, and it's all just about having fun. So I highly suggest checking out any of these. Like I mentioned, the Great Lakes Gauntlet is here in Michigan. That takes place in September. Beat the Creek is down in Kentucky. That's coming up in May. I'll be at that one if you want to come say hi. USTE, Ultimate Scale Truck Expo, that takes place in Florida, and it already happened, unfortunately. But moving on, we also have Pro Line by the Fire, which takes place later in the year, and The Fix, which also I believe takes place in Pennsylvania, and that takes place later in the year. That's an endurance event where you actually basically have to go around the trail so many times within a certain amount of hours. So there's definitely some competitive aspects to that. And many other local events or events that I just don't know of. If you know of any, let me know. I'd love to check them out. Or let me know where they're taking place. So, and then the other type of event is my personal favorite, the scale comps. These are typically 10-gate courses based on points. And before I jump into that, let's get rid of these and bring in these. So we're going to talk a little bit about the SORCA-based events. These are my personal favorite type of events. These are going to be typically based on points, and you have to navigate a 10-gate course. Typically, there's normally 2 to 3 10-gate courses, and you get things like scale points, where if you have an interior, if you have little trinkets, you have a cage, all those things kind of add up as far as almost being like a handicap. So the whole point of these events is lowest score possible. So all these little scale points are basically giving you negative points to start out with. So kind of like a handicap in golf, I would imagine. So the 3 classes are going to be Class 1, which is going to run smaller tires, bumpers as wide as the body. Normally, Class 2 is going to be, gives you a little bit more room to modify the body a little bit. You can just have smaller bumpers that are just a little bit wider than the body. And then class 3, you can run big tires, 2.2s, anything from 4.76 all the way up to, I believe, 5.75, almost 6 inches. And you can have 4-wheel steer and get super creative with the body, super creative with basically making your own tire as well. There's a lot you can do. I can't get into it all right now, but if you do want to check out the Sorka stuff, go check out the Sorka Facebook page. All the rules are there. And if you have any questions, feel free to call me at the Southgate Nankin Hobby location, or, send us a message, whatever. We're happy to help answer any questions you want. So, carrying on, I will say, typically, out of the box, there's not many Class 1 vehicles that you can purchase that are Class 1 legal out of the box. Something like the RC 4-wheel drive Trail Finder, that one is normally legal out of the box. Some of the older Element stuff, that's like their Trail Walker that had the smaller tires, that stuff can be legal out of the box. Pretty much every vehicle can be legal for any class. You just have to build it. But class 2 is typically the most popular because any truck, just about any truck on the market, fits class 2. No, that's excluding like bombers and wraiths and those big tire stuff. So let's get into what I personally recommend now for if you do want to get into competitive crawling and Sorka-based events. So we'll get rid of these guys, because this right here is the new SCX10 Pro, and I highly recommend this kit. Let's pull this body out. So in the past, I would have recommended the Base Camp, the Deadbolt, the SCX10 Raw Builders Kit, any of those 3 vehicles as a starter vehicle to really get into competitive crawling. Basically, I would recommend like the Base Camp or the Deadbolt, just because they're good bases. You're going to want to change all that stuff. But then Axial went and dropped this thing, the SCX10 Pro. As you saw in the last video, or if you haven't, go check it out. I took this thing out, ran it, and had a ton of fun with it, running some gates, and I have been thoroughly impressed with this. I can't wait to take it to a real big comp. That I'll be doing ECC, East Coast Championship, in Alabama, coming up in May. So that'll be fun. But I'll kind of show you the differences on why I recommend this and why I think it's totally worth the money compared to all that. So let's pull the body off here, just to make things easier. So yes, this comes as a kit. This does not. Well, this comes ready to run, whatever. So as you can see, this thing is sitting significantly lower. It's crazy how much lower this thing is sitting. Look at all this. Look at all this room. So that is going to basically lower all your center of gravity, which is awesome. It is great. And this is going to keep everything up fairly high. So that's not so great. Not saying you can't make this work, but this already is ahead of the game compared to this. If you can see, this actually has an angled skid, where the Base Camp does not. It is just flat. And what does that do? The angled skid actually is going to help when it comes to going over breakovers. So that is super helpful, because a lot of competitions, that is a big aspect of some gates sometimes. So there is that. The other thing that this guy has is the forward motor mount and transmission, transfer case, that whole setup. This is going to get you scale points. Super helpful. This is just a standard 3-gear transmission. It's not going to get you points, but it does the job and is normally super reliable. Bumpers. Let's talk bumpers. Look at these tiny little baby bumpers. Whoop. It's so small. Look at this guy. This guy could fill a whole football field. Boom. It's ridiculous. So typically in a competition, you want small bumpers. It's going to help with departure angles. Not only departure, in the rear, departure angles. In the front, it'll help with approach angles and give you all the clearance that you need to do all the things. And then the other cool little thing that this one's going to do is it is going to give you all these shock options. Woo! Plenty of shock options so you can actually move the shocks in and out like this. And basically what angling the shocks does is going to give you it's going to give you a lower ride height, but still allow the shocks to work as they should, where if you were to lower this guy, if you were to do it with like shorter shocks, that's going to limit your travel. So sometimes that's good, sometimes not so much. Sometimes you run into more issues. They do have things you can put on this to make it more competitive. All right, so now that I gave you a little bit of advice on what vehicle to start with, let me give you a little bit of advice on what to do going to your first ever event. So, like I said, these are crawling events, so a lot of them take place in the woods or somewhere that is in the middle of somewhere. So there's not always power. Always bring charged batteries, plenty of extra charged batteries. If you have a generator, I highly suggest bringing a small generator. Or you can rob power from your buddy to charge your batteries, like I do when I go to the Gauntlet. Thanks, Jason, if you see this. So another thing is, if you're going to a trail type event, like again, the Gauntlet, basically I highly suggest bring a backpack, and in the backpack you have water, you have spare parts, and charged batteries. Those three things are a must. Tools as well. I highly suggest tools because at some point there's a good chance that you're going to break. When it comes to a trail type event, having a reliable vehicle is key. Super important, because you want to finish the trails no matter how long they are. You want to finish the trails driving it out, not carrying it out. So always bring tools, always bring parts, and always bring water, because water is important. Health tips with Nankin Hobby. If you were at the first Great Lakes Gauntlet, it was like 100 degrees out, and people were literally dumping coolers. It was insane. It was insanity. It was crazy hot. It was ridiculous. So always, always, always bring water to a trail type event, or just any event really. The other thing is, if you go to a Sorka based scale comp, or like the scale comp that we're doing here at the Farmington location on March 18th, just go check it out. If it's your first time, see what people are running, talk to people, ask questions, all those kind of things. We're all here and willing to help, so don't be afraid to ask questions, and just show up with your truck and ready to drive. I never suggest, don't ever be in the mindset of I'm going to show up and I'm going to win, because that's just not a good mindset to be in. Maybe you are going to win, and good for you. So, but just show up and learn all the knowledge that you possibly can. Show up with your truck, whether it's legal or whether you think it's legal or not. Bring it, and typically we'll find a way to make it work. The comp in Farmington on March 18th, we're only doing a 1.9 class, so that means we're just going off of the 1.9 tire. I don't care if you got a 2.2 wheel, it just has to be a 1.9 tire. So any size, don't care. Super simple. That's all we ask. All right, so the last thing that I will say is whether you're going to a Sorka type event or a trail type event, there are going to be some challenges. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult because there's all different levels of difficulty when making obstacles and setting up courses and things like that. So all I say is don't get discouraged. If somebody did better than you or if you broke, go there and just have fun. That's all that really matters. At the end of the day is just go have fun. So that is my helpful tips on getting into crawling events, other things like that. So if you want or have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Nankin Hobby. I'm at the Southgate location, but we got 3 other locations: Farmington, Ypsi, Westland, and here, Southgate. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or anybody else a call. If you want to pick up one of these things, check out our website or come in and see us. We'd love to visit. So until next time, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all the things. Catch you guys on the next one.